Hello and welcome to Urza's Lunch Break, the lunchtime magic show where we get you some commentated magic and then back to work before your boss gets angry at you. My name is Ned Burns, this is Mitch Foley, and today we are doing yet another modern show match. It's going to be an enjoyable thing. I think we've got two very interesting decks. Importantly, we have our modern tournament coming up in the new year. It's going to be a modern show match tournament. We're going to have 8 decks vying for the top. They're all going to be a pretty good representation of the modern meta, although we have thrown in a few spicy entries in there just to keep things interesting. But today, like I said, it is a modern show match between two very aggressive decks. Mitch, what do we have today?
We have Blue Suicide, I believe, versus Kiln Fiend, Red-Blue Kiln Fiend Thing in the Ice deck.
Yeah, Thing in the Ice. Come on, man. Don't give up the opportunity to call it.
Fiend,
so it's Blue Suicide?
I thought that's what he said.
I think it's Naya Suicide.
There's no blue in this list. It's just Naya. Never mind.
Well, there's a little bit of black, though, because we do have Death Shadow.
Yeah, he's got a lot of colors in there.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Mana base is not the best, but he is looking to Temur Battle Rage people out, take his own life to power out a Death Shadow. Does he have Death Shadow?
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Man, we really prepared for this particular stream.
We didn't. I watched Star Wars last night. It was really good.
Oh, yeah, that was fantastic. Then we got home super late. So, Thing in the Ice, for everyone who doesn't know about this amazing card, is a 0/4. But when you cast 4 instants or sorceries, it flips into, I believe, a 7/9.
And importantly, it bounces all of your opponent's creatures when it does.
Well, it bounces all non-horror creatures, including yours. It's a horror. You think, well, of course, there aren't a lot of horrors, but there is another horror in this deck.
Is a horror.
Oh, is it really?
It's got to be.
Oh, man, we got to check now.
All right, we're going to the game. We're going to the game now. They're starting.
Let's starting? All right. Here we go. So our players are starting without us. We're going to have to do some research.
Shadow is an avatar. I'm super disappointed
now. Thing in the Ice does run Bedlam Reveler, which is a horror, which means that there is a world where it gets to keep its Bedlam Reveler on the table. The only other horror that in Modern that I know of is Spellskite that's played very often. Spellskite not going to do a ton against a 7/9, or a 9/7. We should really look that up.
Death Shadow should totally be a horror.
So on the left we have Gus running Death Shadow, sometimes called Suicide, and on the right we have Dom running Blue-Red Kiln Thing, which is a disturbing image. And we have no playmats today. What is going on?
Amateur hour.
It is right here. Players are still shuffling up. Both of these are very aggressive decks. Thing in the Ice essentially wants to drop a bunch of small aggressive things like Swift Spear, Thing in the Ice, Kiln Fiend, and then play a ton of cantrips and kill you real quick that way. Death Shadow is a suicide deck where it runs essentially a Naya Burn core, but then it runs Death Shadow in a lot of ways to deal damage to itself. So it can drop a 5/5 or even a 7/7 Death Shadow. It also runs Step Links because that does a lot of damage sometimes.
Step Links can pretty reliably be a 4-power attacker in this deck, which is going to be great for punching through that initial Thing in the Ice. Thing in the Ice does start out as a 0/4, which could prove problematic for a lot of Gus's creatures as far as breaking through for that early damage.
It looks like both players have mulliganed down to 6. Oh, down to 5 again. So, that's an interesting hand for our Death Shadow player. I believe he has 1 land? I could be wrong. I see a Probe, a Battle Rage. Nope, maybe no lands.
Well, the Thing in the Ice deck certainly has enough land. He's got 3 lands with Cataxian Probe and Bedlam Reveler. He's probably good to go with this.
It's not the strongest of hands for Dom. Gus's hand is...
you take what you can get when you get down to 5 cards.
That's true. Gus's hand is Probe, Battle Rage, Become Immense, Death Shadow, and Monastery Mentor. So he does not have a land. He is going to probe, see Dom's rather uninspiring hand.
With that scry and the draw, so he did scry to the bottom, did try to draw off the probe, did not hit. This could be a very quick game if Dom can land a threat before Gus can find a land. Both of these decks pretty light on land. So the person with a bit more land in their hand and lacking threats might be in a better position.
Dom draws Serum Visions for the turn. That's going to give him a lot of advantage in this game. Currently, his only threat is Bedlam Reveler, which he can realistically cast quite early, but he doesn't have the gas to power it out right now.
Certainly not at the rate he's going at.
I have not seen the Monastery Mentor in this Death Shadow deck before.
There's no Mentor in this deck.
Okay,
Oh,
it's the
Monastery
Swift Spear.
Swift
Thank
Spear.
you. I was very confused about that. Because it also doesn't run white.
Yeah, it'd be tough to cast.
Looks like Dom's going to fire back with a Gitaxian Probe of his own. Now, if Gus gets a land, he does have a decent amount of cards he can play. He would really like it to be a fetch land.
Right, but he's looking at... He can't play them all at once, and he
Yeah.
did not hit a land. It looks like he hit another Death's Shadow instead.
Yeah.
So this is pretty painful for Gus.
Dom getting to take his time, set things up here. Another Serum Visions for Dom. God, this must be modern. Playing trash cards like Serum Visions. I couldn't quite see where he put those cards.
I believe he's still deciding, but... Oh, no,
No.
I guess not.
Hand of Faithless Looting for Dom.
Faithless Looting really going to help Dom as far as powering out that Bedlam Reveler.
Now, these are all cards that this deck really wants to cast once it has a creature on the table, like a Swift Spear, or a Thing in the Ice, or a Kiln Fiend. But actually finding those cards is better than not having them at all. And the draw for Gus is, yet again, not a land. Looks like a Mutagenic Growth, which he can cast. And finally, here's Thing in the Ice from Dom. It gets 4 counters. Every time he casts an instant or sorcery, it's going to lose a counter. And
Gus hitting a land off the top, trying to shuffle his hand to hide the fact that he drew a land. I think Dom is going to figure out what he did draw for the turn, however.
So, if you're Gus, you probably fetch a black-red land so you can play both Death Shadow and Swift Spear. But then you can't play your Nacatl. So what do you go for here?
Apparently it's green-red. He's going to go for... Oh, all the cards are backwards on the stream.
Oh, okay. It wasn't just my imagination. So the overlay is correct, but...
The overlay is correct, but all the cards are backwards.
Well...
That's really weird. So he's choosing to go with the Nacatl and the Swift Spear here.
Swifty not going to break through that 0/4 Thing in the Ice.
With those 2 mutagenic growths, it will easily punch through.
That's true.
And this is a very easy thing to bluff. It does not cost him anything to attack here.
Looks like Dom is afraid of the Mutagenic Growth. All right, Swifty gonna get in, but just for 1. Dom's hand now Probe Monomorphose Bolt. So he is very close to being able to just flip his Thing in the Ice this turn. And he's going to start it off with a Probe. Sees all the very nice cards in Gus's hand, waiting to get played out. Yes, thank you, spotters. Now we've got that library on camera. Dom going to draw off Probe. Looks like he tapped mana for the Probe, so respecting the explosiveness that Death Shadow can provide.
Yeah, certainly now that Gus has a land out and is going to start to get going, Dom needs to really pay attention to his life total a bit more.
Can you just look up what Thing in the Ice flips to? Is it a 9/6 or a 7/9? I think it's a 9/6.
It's a 7/8.
7/8. Jeez. All right. I don't know anything.
More importantly, he only needs 6 instants and sorceries in his graveyard in order to cast that Bedlam Reveler.
The backwards Monastery Swift Spear is really getting to me.
And he does have 5 at this time.
And he has a Monomorphose, which is free.
And that will be able to filter that island into a red source to cast that Bedlam Reveler right now if he wants.
Looks like he drew a Swift
It's a
Spear.
question of, does he want to discard the rest of his hand, which does include a lightning bolt. Well, he's certainly going to do the Metamorphose.
Here it comes. Thing in the Ice gets another crack. Monomorpho is really doing basically everything that Dom's deck wants to do. Looks like Dom's going to take a slightly more defensive route here, choosing to bolt the Swift Spear. Gus happy to pay 2 life and keep it alive with a Mutagenic Growth.
And still have that second Mutagenic Growth in hand for attacking through Thing in the Ice, should it not flip here.
Yeah, that's right. Tidy that shit up. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, don't swear.
Yeah. I think Dom had another floating mana, but chose not to use it.
Yeah, and that makes it much more difficult for him to threaten flipping Thing in the Ice at instant speed here.
Mishra's Bauble for Gus. Let's see if he remembers to draw on his opponent's upkeep.
Wizards thankfully getting rid of that delayed cantrip mechanic from Ice Age and
replacing it with
carried
something
out
even
in Cold
worse.
Snap.
Well, in Ice Age, it was you draw at the beginning of your next upkeep. And then...
Oh, I think it was the beginning of the next upkeep.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
we should check. Arabic Monastery Swift Spear swinging in. Chipping away at Dom, but Gus unable to run out a real pump spell to get some more damage in. Gus going to crack Mishra's Bubble. For those of you not aware of this $20 uncommon, he gets to look at the top card of a library and then draw a card at the beginning of next turn's upkeep, which is a remarkably difficult trigger to remember. Now, he has a lot of options here with his red-green land. Looks like he's opting to play Wild Nacatl. He does remember to draw during Dom's upkeep. Unfortunately, so Dom does not have an instant sorcery in his hand right now, except that he just drew Faithless Looting.
He also does have the Faithless Looting in the graveyard, so he would have been able to flash that back.
That's true. His remaining cards are Reveler, Swift Spear, Swift Spear. Here's the Faithless Looting.
And that's the flip for the Thing in the Ice.
Dom going to get to draw 2 cards.
One of them was Kiln Fiend. I think that might be slightly inferior to the Bedlam Reveler at this point.
Well, so if you were choosing between Swift Spear and Kiln Fiend, what would you go for?
Did Dom just draw 2 cards and then not discard 2 cards?
I think that might have happened. Well, there we go.
All
Losing
right.
both Swifties. And it looks like he is opting to go with the Kiln Fiend instead of the Swift Spear.
Red Sorcerer, draw 2 cards. Pretty powerful effect.
I don't know. Red's pretty trash color.
Gus is back really against the wall here, not able to pressure Dom the way his deck normally wants to. Gus really wants to be the aggressive deck in this matchup.
And with Kiln Fiend on the table, that's threatening almost as much damage as the horror itself. Kiln Fiend can get out of hand really quickly. And Gus is choosing to just scoop it up here.
Yeah, he wasn't really going to be able to survive next turn realistically, especially knowing that there is multiple Faithless Lootings in the graveyard for Dom to flash back to pump that Kiln Fiend, if nothing else.
And that's really, I hope Dom remembers to flip his Thing in the Ice back. That's really not what the Suicide deck is trying to do. It really needs to get a turn 1 play and a turn 2 play.
All right, let's do sideboards.
Here we go. So, looking at Gus's sideboard, let's start with him. What do you think he wants to bring in against this Thing in the Ice deck?
Well, I know what he wants to bring in because we talked to him about it before the match. So he's going to
we get to judge him.
Adding in a Forked Bolt, a Dismember, an Inquisition, 2 Inquisitions, and he's taking out 2 Thoughtseizes, Battle Rage, and a Become Immense. So looking to be a little bit more conservative on his own life total. So taking out those Thoughtseizes where Inquisition is going to hit the majority of cards in Dom's deck. but also bringing in that Forked Bolt as a little bit of removal for either a Kiln Fiend or an unprotected Monastery Swift Spear.
Our list must be out of date because I don't see a Forked Bolt in the list. What do you think the Forked Bolt is for? So it can kill the Kiln Fiend, and you said the Swift Spear. Unprotected Swift Spear doesn't seem like it's going to happen terribly often against Dom's deck.
I mean, Dom is looking to tap out on his own turn, but he does still have cards like Mutagenic Growth, which are going to be able to act even with no mana.
That's true.
So that's Gus's plan. Let's do Dom's plan now. So he's going to shave a Mutagenic Growth and a Bedlam Reveler for Spellskite, Negate, and Twisted Image. He's also bringing in a Blood Moon. Oh no, he's just decided to take out all 3 Mutagenic Growths and an Apostle's Blessing in favor of Blood Moon, Negate, Twisted Image, and Spellskite.
So Spellskite going to be able to steal all of Gus's pump spells. That seems very strong.
And just having an extra 0/4 blocker for 2 that's not going to get returned from the Awoken Horror is a pretty good spot to be in.
Twisted Image swaps the power and toughness of a creature, which I'm not sure what that is going to kill in Gus's deck.
Well, let's take a look. It's certainly going to kill Step Links, which is funny.
I'm not sure I really want to dedicate a whole card to anti-Step Links tech, though.
It's still going to draw him a card at instant speed for a blue, which is something his deck is interested in, although might not be in the best spot. I think something else might be a little bit better, but
All right,
yeah, it does kill. I guess it would be better than the Mutagenic Growth or the Apostle Blessing. So he's decided to bring it in on the off chance that
I like Apostle's
it
Blessing.
either draws him a card or kills a Step Links.
Players looking at hands here. Gus going to be on the play. Oh my god, we just got a phase reversal. Gus is on the right side now. What is going on? Looks like both players opting to keep it 7. Gus going to lead it off with a Gitaxian Probe. Seeing a pretty strong hand from Dom. 2 lands, some threats, and some spells. Gus's hand also not too bad. Bauble, Become Immense, Land, Nicodle, Bauble, Death Shadow, Step Links. He could really use another creature, another land here. But he has a lot of cards he's yet to draw. Now, Mishra's Bauble doesn't let you scry or Fate Seal or anything. You just get to look at the top. Here's a second Bauble from Gus. Gonna look at his opponent's hand, library rather. And here's the Step Links. Well, let's see if it gets Twisted Imaged.
Well, Gus knows what's coming as far as Dom's top deck goes, and Dom does not currently have that, so we should be okay.
Oh man, did Gus remember to draw 2 cards as well? I'm very proud. Dom going to scry off of Serum Vision, sees Bolt and Fetch Land. Doesn't need that land. Gonna keep that Bolt though. Well, he's thinking about it. That's gonna stay on top. Now Gus looking at the saddest Step Links of all, unless he top decks a land. And I don't think he does.
Fortunately, he does have a little bit. He does have a Verdant Catacombs, so he does have a bunch of ways to deal himself damage now. The 2 life from the probe will bring him to 14, plus an extra up to 3 life from the fetch land will give him the ability to play out
he does have
both
the fetch.
of those
Okay.
Death Shadows. Yes, he did draw it for the turn. So those Mishra's Baubles really helping him dig deep, getting that fetch land for him, so he can execute his game plan.
And he is going to get 2 landfall triggers off of this fetch land, so his Step Links is going to be a 4-6?
4/5.
4-5.
Good try.
Man, I don't know about Step Links.
I played so much Zendikar Limited,
Yeah.
and it was such a
MVP.
bad format. I don't know why I played so much.
But Rise is apparently the greatest format.
It was fun.
All right.
And here is the Become Immense.
Looks like Gus is going to go straight for the throat here.
I mean, that's 10 damage right there.
And following it up with the Death Shadow, which is currently a 2/2. But I imagine it won't stay there.
Yeah, it's a 2/2 threatening to be a lot bigger. Gus getting that damage in with Become Immense while he knows he can. He's pretty safe just off of Basic Island, knowing what Dom hit with his top deck and in his hand currently, knowing that he might have time to actually get there before Dom can deploy any of those cards.
Importantly, he does have another fetch land, which is going to deal him another 3 damage. It's going to pump his Death Shadow by another 3 power and toughness.
Not to mention the step links.
Dom going to start off his turn with a Sleight of Hand. And a Gataxian Probe, paying life, falling to 8. Dom really digging for an answer here to one or both of these creatures. Gus just throwing his cards on the table, splashing them all over the place. Such disrespectful play. I feel like we need to give him a flag for that.
I don't think he can throw flags.
What?
What? In this.
All right. Dom's hand has Lightning Bolt and Bedlam Reveler. He can't cast the Bedlam Reveler. He can bolt something.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Solemn Storm here. I think Innistrad was much better than other draft formats. I really had a good time in Innistrad.
Innistrad was fantastic.
It was a good time.
Dom going to take the opportunity, rather, to bolt that Death Shadow before Gus has a chance to grow it.
And again, that Gataxian Probe information vital there, knowing that there's no mutagenic growth that needs to be played around.
Sacred Foundry, the draw for Gus. He is going to get 2 landfall triggers for his step links. Get in for at least another 4.
As well as bring himself down another 3 life to pump that second Death Shadow follow-up.
So right now his hand Death Shadow, Foundry, Nicodle. I imagine he just drops both of those, and Dom is staring down a bunch of rather large creatures next turn. Gus such a nice opponent. He's keeping life totals in tandem, although he is going to drop Dom to 4 here. All right, so what does Dom need in order to get out of this situation? He's going to be staring down 3 creatures, any of which could be lethal if Gus draws a fetch land.
Unfortunately, at this point, he's going to need a series of things, none of which he currently has in his hand. That Lightning Bolt last turn was certainly a good start, but with Gus able to deploy multiple creatures, all of which are going to represent effectively lethal next turn.
That is a 5/5 Death Shadow, by the way.
So Death Shadow by itself is lethal. The Nicodle plus the Step Links is lethal. So in this case, you only really need to take care of the Death Shadow plus block one of the other ones. But it's too many cards that he needs and too much mana that he doesn't have.
And Faithless Looting, not a good sign. Yes, thank you for cleaning up that graveyard there. Dom, apparently ashamed of his graveyard, wants to keep it off camera.
I had a good time with that Homelands draft. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Oh my god.
There's like 1 removal card in the set.
And you drafted 6 of them.
Yeah, nobody drafted it, so I got 6 Tortures. And that's how you draft Homelands.
Dom does have a blocker here, but with only 1 blue showing.
Certainly not going to get there.
No, I don't think he's going to have enough to pull it out. Let's see if Gus can seal the deal. Step Link's the draw.
Dom trying to bluff as hard as he possibly can.
So if... Nope. Dom was dead no matter what, because Gus is guaranteed to have a land.
There's something like a play where Dom could have a Vapor Snag, but we know he doesn't, so there's really nothing that we could do here. This match is going to get tied up at 1-1.
Gus not even bothering to pay the life. And there it is. Dom going to take 5 off of the incoming attackers, and Gus getting revenge, tying it back up at 1-1. So, that game we got to see the Suicide deck really perform the way it wanted to. Drop a bunch of dudes, get your life total low, swing us some enormous Death Shadows.
Still a little bit slower than he wanted to be. He would have appreciated a hasty guy at the end there to get in before Dom had that extra turn to drop that third land and maybe get something else on the board to try to stabilize. But still much faster than Dom could handle, certainly.
So what do you think of that play to run the Become Immense out on top of the Step Links and just get in for 10?
I mean, I think it's fantastic because it's a card where it's not going to be safe against a deck like Dom's, where he does have quite a number of answers. And what you want is you want to make sure that your cards are connecting for as much damage efficiently as possible. Gus saw the opening and he took it, and it really paid off for him. He wasn't going to be able to be punished for that play.
So now that we're in the mirror universe, if we were to pull back, would both of these players be having like evil mustaches?
I think so, but at least they could read. No, this is the normal universe. The evil one was the other one.
Okay. It'd be great if all the cards also had little mustaches on them. Okay, so in the final game to determine the show match, Dom's going to be on the play, I imagine.
Yes, play draw really a big factor in these aggressive matchups.
We had a chance to look at Gus's hand, but I was too distracted, so I have no idea what's in there. Looks like a decent mix of lands and stuff. He's got some creatures.
Might be a bit heavy on the lands for Gus, but we'll see in a minute once we get our spotters to get
Both players going to keep
hands.
it 7 here. Dom's hand, Misty, which he just cast, Serum Visions, Bedlam Reveler, Serum Visions, Steam Vents, Spellskite. So actually pretty land-heavy for Dom. Although that Spellskite, I imagine, is going to be quite valuable.
And that Serum Visions will really help him set up for the, the circle pile shuffle. We don't have time for this nonsense,
At this point,
guys.
even I'm getting angry.
Gus does have a Tarmogoyf in his hand, which is going to be a bit slower than the rest of the creatures in his deck because it does cost 2 and it does not have haste, but it will be a bit beefier, have a bit of staying power. He did not choose to bring in the additional one in his sideboard in. But
Yeah, so this is just a
reconsider
singleton
that
Tarmogoyf.
in the future to get through these Spellskites and other 04s.
Tarmogoyf, another reason to run Bauble in this deck is that it pumps your Tarmogoyfs because it is an artifact, and it hits the yard rather quickly. It also pumps your Swift Spears and draws you a card. Well, we're still killing time because our players are killing us with their awful pile shuffling.
Ban the pile shuffle.
Ban the pile shuffle, reprint the duels. That's what I say. And here's finally Serum Visions from Dom. Let's see what he gets. Looks like a Bedlam Reveler. And the top 2 are Island and Faithless Looting. I think he's going to keep that Faithless Looting and get rid of that Island, as he has plenty of lands. Become Immense the draw for Gus. Here's a Heath into... what are you going to get, Gus?
It's definitely going to be red. The only turn 1 play he really has available to him at this time is that Monastery Swift Spear. Probably wants to get either green or black, more likely green for the Tarmogoyf and now the Become Immense. Nope, I was wrong.
Red-black it is. So he wants to prepare his Death Shadows. I'm not sure how he's going to get low enough to cast a Death Shadow this early. So he has 2 Death Shadows in hand, which is definitely something you want to play, but if he just has the Heath to deal himself damage, that's only 6 damage. He needs to get down to at least 12 if he wants to have a Death Shadow that doesn't just die when it enters the battlefield. But Gus is going to lead off with a Swift Spear and drop Dom to 18.
Does he have another Windswept Heath in his hand?
He does.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't matter what the second color he gets is. Then
That's
he
true.
can get green with the other one.
Here's the Spellskite from Dom. Gonna be a big problem for Gus. His Become Immense is essentially useless now.
We'll see if that Spellskite decides to do any blocking. Just its ability to pull spells towards it takes away the threat of suddenly something like Battle Rage out of nowhere to swing for lethal when they weren't previously threatening lethal.
Now Gus does have Lightning Bolt, which, if he ran it out, would kill the Spellskite, a blocking Spellskite. Now he doesn't have it in his hand.
Gus is almost certainly going to be attacking here no matter what. And I imagine Dom is not going to block. The unblocked damage from the Monastery Swift Spear not going to be nearly as potent as the consequences of letting that Spellskite die, but then getting the Swift Spear battle raged and mutagenic growth and become immense.
That seems like a lot of things. Now, that Bloodstained Mire, an important draw for Gus. It's going to give him some extra ways to lose life and actually be able to play his Death Shadows.
Gus playing a Tarmogoyf out pre-combat. Not sure about the wisdom in this move. Might want to threaten with the Monastery Swift Spirit. I figured there's no way Dom would block, but... And the Monastery Swift Spirit itself certainly not going to be doing any blocking. So I think a missed attack there for Gus could have gotten in a free point of damage, which might be the difference in this game.
That's very true. These games tend to go quite close to the wire. Although you never know with Dom. He likes to get aggressive. Here's a Kiln Fiend from Dom. This card looks innocuous, but it can deal a terrifying amount of damage in one hit with Dom's deck and the right hand. So this is something that Gus, who's going to be dealing a lot of damage to himself, is going to really have to respect.
Dom does have a similar plan with the Temur Battle Rage and the Kiln Fiend comboing with itself.
So Gus can run out another fetch, drop to 11, and play Death Shadows, which would be 2/2s. And the question is whether he just dies to Kiln Fiend on the crackback. Looks like he's going to choose to look at the top of his own library with Mishra's Bauble.
So the Swift Spear does get +1/+1 for that.
Dom at a fairly comfortable 16 here.
With 2 creatures on the board for Gus of sizable... well, apparently we're just passing.
Yeah, I don't think Dom would have blocked if Gus had attacked. Gus does remember to draw off Mishra's Bauble. Gus, notably, electing to not play a land that turn.
He doesn't really lose anything by just putting the land on the battlefield and not fetching.
Yeah.
And he did waste a bit with the Monastery Swift Spirit being a 2/3, able to get through both the Kiln Fiend and presumably the Spellskite.
Yeah, so right now we're looking at around 3 damage probably missed on Dom. He could be at 13.
I mean, if he attacks with just the Swift Spirit, leads the Goyf back to block. Even if Dom does block with a Spellskite, you then bolt the Kiln Fiend. Now you effectively give Dom the choice. Do you want to kill the Spellskite or the Kiln Fiend? And the Kiln Fiend probably just eats it.
Dom does have a bolt in his hand, though. So if Gus had attacked with Swifty and Dom had been able to bolt away the Tarmogoyf, that could be a lot of damage coming into Gus's face.
Tarmogoyf is certainly not boltable currently. We have land, sorcery, artifact, making it a 3/4. Any lightning bolt would just pump it even further.
Oh, that's true. Good old Mishra's Bauble. I forgot about that. Well, never mind then. Gus does have Dismember in his hand.
And now we have Kiln Fiend to make creature as well. So we have land, artifact, sorcery, creature.
Kiln Fiend coming in.
Kiln Fiend is a bit bigger, but it still only has that 2 toughness. Kiln Fiend growing faster right before our eyes.
Swift, we're going to eat a lightning bolt. Kiln Fiend is now a 4/2. Yes.
Kiln Fiend gets +3/+0, so it's 7 because of that Faithless Looting.
Look at that. Dom tapped out here. Gus going to respond to this lightning bolt with Dismember. Well, this way he can play his Death Shadows next turn. He's going to drop to 12.
Why did Dom tap out? What did he tap out for? Why does he have that island tapped?
Good question.
As far as I can tell, he played Faithless Looting and Lightning Bolt.
Did he play tap land?
No.
Also, why do you think Dom didn't redirect the Dismember onto the Spellskite?
He's still afraid. I mean, he's at 16 with the Tarmogoyf out there. It's a pretty sizable Tarmogoyf at this point, so a pump spell plus a battle rage.
Nope, Dom, that's the wrong direction. There you go.
It's still too far top, but that's all right.
We need to put some paint on the table.
Well, we just need to get some playmass. Is what we need to do.
There we go. Yeah, the shame touch.
Just line it up with Gus's.
Yeah, that's all you need. His is fine. Dom only has like 5 permanents on the table at any one time anyway. All right, Gus gonna just get into the red zone here. Feeling like the shields are down. Gonna fetch and drop to 7. How do you lose that other 2 life?
Oh, Dom had cast the Serum Visions in the previous turn. That's why he's tapped out here.
All right.
So that was quite a lot of damage from the Kiln Fiend. It was 10 damage coming in. Would have killed Gus.
Looks like Gus paying 4 life for that Dismember and not 2 life, which is why he's at 7. Tarmogoyf quite big now, able to just eat the Spellskite if Dom blocks with it.
Land, artifact, instant, sorcery, creature. I believe that's it. It's 5/6. We should get Goyf dice. Or a Goyf die.
That would be pretty rad. We should also get a table that isn't weirdly ovoid shaped. Looks like Dom electing not to block, unsurprisingly, dropping to 11. And now Gus gets to go a little crazy because he has 2 Death Shadows. Oh, no, going to lead it off with an Inquisition of Kozilek. This means he's not going to be able to play his second Death Shadow.
Nobody is going to get a little bit of information, take out Dom's ability to respond here.
Bedlam Reveler is an interesting card. It's a 3/4, it has prowess, and Dom can almost certainly cast it for just red. Gus going to choose to get rid of that Lightning Bolt in Dom's hand and play out a Death Shadow, which is a 6/6. Let's see if Dom can play something here to try to gain control of this board.
So that Lightning Bolt really wasn't going to be doing a lot for Dom anyway.
No. Well, but it is a threat to Gus. If he gets his life total too low, he has to start worrying about just getting bolted to the face.
Right, but Dom likely going to just lay out the Bedlam Reveler here, which is going to make him discard his hand anyway to draw exactly 3.
Draw for Dom with a land, which is not what he wanted to see, but he is going to, draw into Thing in the Ice off of Monomorphos, followed up by a Bedlam Reveler. How many Faithless Lootings does he have in the graveyard?
Well, he's got 3 new cards in his hand. I think there's just 1 Faithless Looting in the graveyard at this time.
Another amazing ability of Bedlam Reveler is when you cast it or when it enters the battlefield. I'm not sure. Probably when it enters, you discard your hand and draw 3 cards.
So Dom did manage to hit 2 spells off of his Bedlam Reveler trigger, getting Gitaxian Probe and Tumor Battle Rage to go along with a Thing in the Ice.
And just like that, Dom is back in the game. If he manages to flip Thing in the Ice, all 3 of his creatures are going to remain on the table because they are all horrors. And all of Gus's are going to disappear into nothingness.
Bedlam Reveler's a horror?
Yeah, it is.
That's crap, man.
It is great. However, Gus is swinging in with a 5/6 and a 6/6. And Dom is at 11.
That Spellskite really doing a lot of work. Gus not able to represent lethal as well as he would like, without the ability to have those pump spells, those explosive pump spells.
And as a result, it looks like Dom is going to have to block with the Spellskite and lose it here. Gus has 2 Battle Rages and a Become Immense.
Neither of which are going to be very effective.
Looks like he's opting to play the Battle Rage on Spellskite just so he can get an extra 2 in on Dom. Dom going to take another 5 off of the Tarmogoyf and drop to 4. Now keep in mind, if Dom had taken that extra 3 damage earlier this turn, he would have been a 1. But he has an extra 3 life to play with, which may end up making all the difference here. Now let's see if Dom can flip his Thing in the Ice, because he really needs to do that. And if he does, he just wins the game here.
Steam Vents off the tops isn't going to get there entirely, but it might give him the ability to play the Faithless Looting from the graveyard in addition to other spells.
So he has Gitaxian Probe, which he can still cast because he's not at 1.
Right, but he can't do both Gitaxian Probe and have the Steam Vents come in untapped.
That's true.
So really getting low, looking to win this turn possibly. but Gus does have a
Seems like he
sizable blocker on
needs-
his side.
Yeah, I feel like he needs to play the attack scene prep for free in order to have a chance of doing anything here. So he's going to
Dom's
drop
seeing
to
that
2.
he is super dead next turn.
Yep. Let's see what he draws. Thing in the Ice ticks down to 3. And it's a Serum Visions.
Serum Vision's going to help a lot here.
That's a really good start for Dom. Down to 2. He gets to scry. It's not a draw. You already drew a card. What are you doing? There you go. All right. Monomorpho's Lightning Bolt. Both those are cards he would love to have. Currently, however, the only card he has in his hand that's a spell is a Temur Battle Rage. But he does get an untapped land, which means he's going to be able to faithlessly loot and then get one of those, get that Lightning Bolt and flip the ice, and flip Thing in the Ice.
That should do it for the game. Let's see if he finds the line.
Here we go.
And he most certainly has.
There it is. Gets to draw the top 2, ditching some cards he doesn't need. Lightning Bolt, Thing in the Ice, and Gus just scoops it up here. Down to the wire.
That Spellskite doing a lot of work, really making sure that those pump spells, those Battle Rages, couldn't get through, couldn't allow Gus to punch through for that explosive
And
10,
there's the
15
handshake.
damage. So that does conclude the match. Are we doing... Oh, we're not doing another game. We're going back to us. A little warning when you throw back to us. A little bit. A little appreciated.
So that's normally we play out the hour just to make sure you get your full entertainment even after the match is ended.
That was 3 games in 45 minutes, so that's a much slower pace than you might expect looking at these deck lists, looking at how aggressive they want to be. That being said, these matchups are slightly more complicated than people normally give them credit for. The pile shuffling also helps in extending the time.
Yeah,
obviously.
I mean, I'm surprised they didn't really put in more pile shuffles. I feel like that would have been a very strong
You're allowed
play.
1 per randomization.
Yeah, it's very
Tournament
true.
Rules.
So what do we think about how that match went? Do you think so that first game was just not indicative on both sides, I don't think.
I think if you play out, 100 games of this match, you'll find that the Thing in the Ice deck is really relying on 2-drops, and the Death Shadow deck is really relying on 1-drops. And as such, when the Death Shadows deck gets to be on the play, it's effectively 2 turns ahead. And I think it's just so much faster that without drawing something like that sideboard Spellskite, the Thing in the Ice deck is really going to struggle to keep up. And I think the match will most of the time end up in the Death Shadows deck's favor.
Yeah, so if the Thing in the Ice deck is going to win, it feels like it really, against this deck, it really needs to flip a Thing in the Ice quite early and clear off the table.
Yes. The big advantage, though, that the Thing in the Ice deck has is it gets to play Thing in the Ice and Kiln Fiend and Bedlam Reveler, which are cool, I guess.
Bedlam Reveler draws you 3 cards.
Yeah, Bedlam Reveler costs 2, and you can't play it on turn 2.
I see.
I
sense you're not a fan of Thing in the Ice.
It's not. I mean, it's a legal card, but I wouldn't sleeve one up and try to win a PTQ with it.
All right. Well, that is going to be it from us. Thank you very much for watching the stream. If you're on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and if you have any thoughts,
Don't say that. They know that already. It's like patronizing.
No, it's what you got to do.
Everybody says that. Hi guys, it's me. You don't have to say that.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. Leave a comment about who you thought should have won that deck, or if you won that match, rather, or if you have any feedback for us. We're certainly looking for it. A big announcement is that coming up, starting the new year, we are going to be starting our Modern tournament. It's going to be 8 decks. It's going to be really exciting. Make sure you tune in for that. But until then, my name is Ned Burns. This is Mitch Foley. And this has been Urza's Lunch Break. And this is Mitch's hat up above.
It makes me look like not a ghost.
Thank you all. Have a great holiday, and we'll see you in the next year.